Well, good morning. Are you an entrepreneur? Maybe a solo entrepreneur? You might even actually have a full-time job and you're working your business on the side. Maybe, as I've often said, out of your guest bedroom or off your kitchen table. Well, if that's the case, then my episodes are for you. I focus on tips, resources, and strategies for the small business owner, for the solo entrepreneur. My name's Kerry Brown, and welcome to another episode of Hang Out with Coach Kerry. In fact, this is episode 70, and today it's one of my favorite episodes because it's what we call a Q&A episode. And Q&A is questions that come from you and from my VIP panelists. Now, today I'm on the episode by myself, but I've been sent questions by you on my Facebook page, on my website, under other videos. I've collected those. And I have asked my VIP panelists who are not able to be on with me today. So let's get started because I want to be able to give you lots of great content today. And, you know, here we are. If you're watching this live, we're in the middle of August. And for those of you, you've probably had a great summer. You've maybe taken some time off. You're maybe starting to think about getting back to work. You know, if you've got kids, you're thinking about definitely going back to school. And I'm going to suggest that you go back to school as well. And what do I mean by that? That means by going back and really getting back to the basics of what it takes to be successful in the business. I know that you do what you do really well. The product or the service that you offer your clientele, the work that you do in the world, you are very passionate about it, that you love what you do, and you are really on a mission to be able to help a lot of people. And yet I'll tell you that unless you actually have a thriving business, you are not reaching your capacity. You are not touching and changing the lives of those people around you that you want to with your product or service. So today I hope to handle some of those questions that will help you go back to school. How do you plan that for this fall you will actually, change things in your business? There's a phrase that I've said this last week quite often, and it's for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. And what do I mean by that is that you have to learn, you have to become skilled at what it takes to be successful in business. Success doesn't happen just because you love what you do. Success doesn't happen just because your product is timely in the marketplace. You actually have to roll up your sleeves and go to work. And you have to go to work not only just by sharing your product and service, but it's also by learning what it takes to be successful in business. And I'll tell you that there's no magic in it. Yes, you have to have a product that's timely in the marketplace. Today, you'd be unlikely you would have a successful business if you were selling VHS videotapes. Probably unlikely that you'd have any kind of success in that at all. Look how things have changed in terms of how you rent movies today. We know that the movie rental business, by and large, for most people, that doesn't exist anymore. And you rent your movies, or you get streaming video like Netflix or Crave TV or Show Me or any of the other ones that you've got. So today things have changed. So you do need to be on top of the trends. You need to make sure, and hopefully not trendy, but where the public is going, what the demand is in the marketplace, because then you can offer what they're looking for. But you also have to understand a business model. And the business model that you have can alter a little bit in terms of how you deliver your product or a service. It can be different in terms of whether your customer is local or whether they're international. So there's a number of things about it, but the typical business model is exactly the same for any business. And I really want you to think about this. The first thing you have to do is you have to market what it is you do. And without marketing, you won't have anyone to talk to. And so marketing is the top of your business model. In fact, it's like a big funnel. And so what happens is all of the strategies that you use to get people to know, like, and trust you, to understand what your product is, to come in your door, or to contact you, comes through marketing efforts that you have. And you want to be able to look at those and make sure those are, dealing with who your audience is specifically, that you know who they are and what it is that they need. Then from marketing, you then narrow those people down who actually contact you, and you then turn them into sales. Now you have to have strategies in place to convert those people from a suspect to a prospect to then a client or customer. And those are really important. You have to understand that you want to have a sales system in place. Then from there, you have to have a customer service strategies. You have to have systems in place for that. So the first point of contact when a potential customer is in touch with you, that's when your customer service starts, and it goes all the way through to the very end when you actually come to the point where you've got where you actually have people who are now past customers and you're in touch with them, that you're keeping them apprised of new sales, new offers, new promotions, everything else. So that whole stretch from start to finish at customer service, you want to have those systems in place. And then from there, as you go through a business model, then you have to have your finance and your human resources. So who are those people who are going to be helping you deliver your product and service? Are they people that you have directly, or are they people that you actually have, that you work in your office? What are your strategies for hiring the best people? How do you know who is the best person? How do you have systems and products in place? Then moving on to the next, then you've got finance and administration. And finance and administration is really important. I hear a lot of solo entrepreneurs saying, I'm not very good at, finances. Well, the fact of the matter is you have to at least get good at knowing what the cost of your goods are. So your product or service, what it costs you to create it or manufacture it, how many hours of your time, what's your time worth, so you have a value on that. What are your expenses for your office space? What are your expenses in terms of having staffing or assistants or whatever it is? You need to know that, and you need to be tracking that. You need to know that on any product or service that you sell, what are your margins in that? And we've devoted other episodes to this, so I'm not going to devote that today. But I do know, so go back and watch them, please. I want you to understand there is that typical business model that comes all the way through. Then you come to a place where at the very end, you're going to have obviously what your costs are, and you're going to have your profit at the bottom. And that is a typical business model, and everyone goes through that. Again, how you deliver the product is going to be different, who your customer is, what your product or service is different, but that is what a business model is, and you need to understand that and learn that. So that's the piece of going back to school you need to understand first and foremost. And I've got lots of tips and strategies on my Hangout with Coach Kerry website. Kerry is spelled Kerry. So please do go check out the website and see those resources, and certainly tons of other videos. But anyway, let's get on to the Q&A piece of what some of you have asked me today. So here we've got one. I seem to be all over the place trying to think, trying different things, and nothing is working together cohesively in my business. Now, I'm assuming you mean trying different things, meaning marketing or ways in which to be successful in your business. So thank you very much for that question. And one of the places I would always go with someone who comes to me with a challenge like that is you have to go big picture. I want to first of all check in is, are you really clear on where you want to go? What you want to create? What's the vision for your business? And what's the mission? What it is that you want to do in the marketplace that actually sets you up for, really sets you up for providing that service, what it is you want to do in the world. And that's your mission, and you want to be really clear on that. And then you have to understand what your personal values are, and you have to understand what your corporate values are. Those are really important because they will actually drive all of the strategy that you're going to implement. Too often, too many people I see are focused on right now, right in front of them, they need to generate revenue. And the problem is that's why you end up being all over the place, because you'll try this, you'll try this, you'll try this, you'll try this. And the problem is that there is nothing cohesive in terms of what your strategy is. So what you want to do is you want to go big picture and spend some time in that critical area. And there's some really key questions you can ask yourself to flush out what really is your vision? What really are you passionate about? And articulate that, and then the mission and how you're going to carry that out into the world, and then your personal and corporate values. So that's where I would go, because then from there, that's going to drive a lot of your marketing strategies. So let me see, I've got another question here, and that is, I set goals usually at the beginning of the year, and rarely do I achieve them. Well, that isn't uncommon. So Coach Kerry, do you have some tips? Well, tips around setting goals I'm going to suggest to you are, if this one seems counterintuitive, is that too often we set goals at the end or the beginning of a year for the next year. And the problem is psychologically, we have a very difficult time actually seeing how we can, or what action steps we have to take, even immediate ones, to reach that goal, because it's such a far way off. It's such a long stretch out there. So here's what I'm going to suggest you do. I'm going to suggest you set your goals in 12-week chunks. We can all do 12 weeks. You can go on a diet for 12 weeks. You can go to the gym for 12 weeks. You can do sales. A lot of companies, if you look at their sales promotions, they run on a 90-day scale. And so they know that in terms of our attention and focus, that 90 days is really all that we can do, because, and here's one of the interesting things, is that if you slough off today, or you take a week off to go on a vacation in 12 weeks, that's going to impact the results of those 12-week goals unequivocally. But if you do that in the context of a year, well, a week's a week. It doesn't mean it's 52 of them, so it's not going to make that much difference. It's kind of like the hamburger you eat today isn't going to affect your health. But if you eat a hamburger every single day, it's going to. So we can sort of say, oh, well, I'm not going to eat one every day, so I can have one today. But then pretty soon we have one a little more often. So what you have to do is decide, okay, 12 weeks, what I'm going to do, so you can have that focus to do whatever it is that you set to do. Now, another piece around that is you have to really decide what it is you want to accomplish in that 12 weeks. So it can't be pie in the sky, and it can't be something that you're already achieving, because there's no stretch in this. I want you to stretch yourself. I want you to set a goal, or just a couple of goals that you actually believe that if you put your focused attention and effort, that you would actually achieve that in 12 weeks. And that's really a key piece to it, is that you have to be invested in it. You know, one of the things that I say to my clients all the time is that, does it matter enough to you, that particular goal, to align your life around it? Because if you haven't aligned your life around it, then there's no way that you're going to do what it takes. You're not going to forego that, stopping work early in the afternoon. You're not going to you're not going to force yourself to not spend your first couple of hours in the morning on Facebook or social media. You're actually going to do what it takes in order to achieve that goal. So the other piece around that is you can really only have a couple of goals. Now, I'm going to draw a distinction between goals and projects. And I know I've said this before, so if you've heard this on other episodes, that's okay. We're just going to install it even more for you. Is a project is something that is made up of a number of action steps and tasks. So a project is made up of a number of action steps and tasks. So what I'm talking about is not accomplishing a project. I'm talking about those goals that you want, that maybe that in fact those projects may be part of a goal. So you may have a goal to achieve a certain amount of revenue, let's say, for an example. So within that, you may actually have some specific projects that you're going to do in order to achieve that. And then from those projects, you're actually going to have some specific action steps you're going to take. So you can see how it starts with goal at the top. Then it goes to, what are the projects in order to achieve that? And then below that, what are the action steps and tasks? So every single day you can be asking yourself, what am I doing to move myself closer to completing this project that will bring me closer to completing and reaching my goal? So again, if you have 12 weeks, you can get pretty specific around that. You know, again, a year, it's really hard to imagine all that it's going to take, and you're never going to know every step that you're going to take, even in a 12-week goal, until you've actually achieved it, because some things are going to show up that you weren't expecting. Of course, that's going to happen. But I want you to make sure that you have set that 12 weeks. What are the goals? Just a couple of those goals. Are you willing to align your life around it? What are those projects within those goals? You can probably identify that, and then you can probably identify the next few action steps and track those. And then continue planning on a daily basis. So what do I mean by that? Well, at the end of every day, you want to take stock of what it is you accomplished that day. Did you move your projects forward? Did you get the action items that you identified for today to do? Yes, you did. Okay, great. Then what are you going to accomplish tomorrow? What's going to be on the top of your priority list? What are those top 3 things you're going to do tomorrow? And identify that every single day. And then every Friday, look back at your week and ask yourself, what was the quality of the choices I made this week? Because at the end of the day, it's all about the choices you make. You choose to work on this or you choose to work on this. And this is where you can start getting good at understanding, do you overestimate? Do you underestimate the amount of time? Are you overly optimistic? Are you overly pessimistic in terms of setting your goals and what action steps you can accomplish? So this is where I want you to start really becoming attentive to how you work. What is your personality? What works for you? So plan obviously 12 weeks, then plan daily and plan weekly, because you only have 12 weeks now. So every week it's really important for you to come back and do that planning. So those are some tips I have around setting goals. And I think that if you find yourself breaking them down into that 12 weeks, and 12 weeks is not a component of a year. I want you to look at that 12 weeks, that's your focus, and you're going to do everything to achieve that. In fact, you might even set a goal in that 12 weeks that you might have currently set for a year. So try shortening that out and just see how it happens. Now it looks like I have a VIP panelist on today that I wasn't expecting. So Heidi, why don't you welcome yourself and introduce yourself to everyone here?
Good morning, Kerry. Heidi Kester in your corner, Virtual Assistant Services. Sorry, technical difficulties, and for everyone out there, when your computer isn't cooperating and there doesn't seem to be a reason why, shut down and reboot. And I promise you that works most every time.
Great. So Heidi, how can people get a hold of you? You're a virtual assistant, you're my virtual assistant. So how can people get a hold of you if they want to find out more about how you could help them be more efficient and get more done?
My website is inyourcornerva.com. Thanks.
So
Kerry.
In Your Corner, and VA is short for virtualassistant.com. Great. Excellent. Good. So Heidi, do you have a question for me right out of the gate? Because I've got a few others from other panelists and from some of our viewers, but I'm wondering if you have one that I can answer for you today that our audience would find of help too, of course.
A common question that I get from clients is, where should I spend my marketing money? Should I spend it on Facebook ads? Should I spend it on print advertising? How do I know where to get the most money for my marketing?
Great question. And in fact, that relates to actually the first question we had, which was, I'm trying things all over the place and, nothing seems to be working or nothing seems to be cohesive. So the first place I would take a client who asked me that question, and I want to back up a little bit because I suspect what they've been doing is doing that, one-off. Nothing's been part of a cohesive strategy. So I'm going to pull them back a little bit, and part of a planning process is to identify who is their ideal client. Who is the client that has a problem or a number of problems that you happen to solve? And I want you to be really clear on who they are. Develop your avatar around them. Imagine even maybe what they might look like, the clothes that they wear, the movies that they go and see, the books they read, the TV they watch, all of those specific things. Because then the next question I'm going to have you think about is, where do they hang out? So are they on Facebook? If you have a business where your clients are not on social media, then that's the wrong place for you to be, or not on social media in terms of looking for business, the business that you're in. Because there are some people who strictly just go on to share family pictures and whatnot, but that they may not be on there enough for you to actually invest in targeting them. So you want to find out where your ideal client actually is. What's of interest to them? What magazines and journals do they read? What events and functions? If your business is local, then one of your marketing strategies actually might be to spend some time networking. But again, rather than just going to networking events and become social events, you want to be strategic about it. Is my specific client, that ideal client of mine, at these places? And if they are, then obviously that leads to how you're going to start the conversation with them, how you're going to be curious about what they do, and how you're going to build the relationship. And that's other episodes I've devoted to networking strategies. But again, if you're looking for local clients, then that's how you're going to do it. If you're looking for clients who are not in your local area, then you're obviously going to have to employ other strategies. You may have to offer speaking, like webinars and those kinds of things, which might actually have people become intrigued about you. But how are you going to get them to come to your webinar? Well, it may be through Facebook, through LinkedIn, through Twitter. But again, you need to determine where your clients are. If you are a graphic designer or an interior designer or anything to do that's quite visual, then chances are Pinterest and Instagram are good places for you because they're very photo-based. And you can be showing pictures and people imagining things. Where if your business is much more related to stories or articles or those type of things, then it might be LinkedIn or Facebook. But if your client base happens to be more business oriented, in the business world, maybe even corporate, then you may look at LinkedIn over Facebook. So again, this is where you really want to ask yourself, okay, again, goes to where is the client? And then from there, that will drive where you invest in your marketing. Along with, of course, a really key piece to this is what is your budget? And that's a really key piece. And I would say most people don't have a budget. And I'm going to encourage you that then if you have no budget, then the question of should you pay for Facebook ads is an irrelevant question, because if you have no budget, then you're not going to be spending it anyway. And the reason I kind of say that jokingly, but what I really want you to do is think of this. And if you said to yourself, okay, I have $1,000 in my budget to spend, then I want you to treat it as if you're going to be looking for the very, very best place. Well, what's the very best place? Where the highest majority of your ideal clients are going to be. That absolutely makes sense. So if your ideal clients are on Facebook, and you decide, okay, that's where you're going to go. First of all, you have to decide, is this going to be part of a longer term campaign? What's its intention? Is it to get clients or is it to build your list? So you have to understand what your intention is from it. And then you have to design the ad so that it actually is compelling. And where is it going to take people? Is it going to take them to a landing page? Is it going to take them to your website? You have to be really clear and walk through all the pieces in it. What I do is I have a board that has a bunch of sticky notes on it. And I sort of, here's the end product or wherever my goal is. So if, let's say it's to build my list of subscribers so that then I can market to them. Well, then I'm going to back that up and I'm going to go, okay, where am I right now? And what are all the various steps I'm going to take? So I can visually see them in front of me. You can also use mind mapping material, processes online. You can use MindJet or bubble.us, any of those that can help you sort of mind map those areas depending on how you think. But you need to get that out so that it's actually part of a strategy versus a one-off. Now, Heidi, does that make sense? If you were going to be explaining that to your clients who ask you that question, do you think you understand the rationale behind that?
It makes 100% sense. What happens is people are overwhelmed. So when you give them specific information like what you've just gone through, think of your ideal client, where are they, how much money do you have, then that starts to make it more manageable.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. And then what it does, it actually puts a system in place so they know then, can they repeat that over again? So let's say it worked. Well, then you repeat it over again, or what components of it didn't work, then how are you going to tweak it? If all you're ever doing is randomly doing bits and pieces, you're never refining and advancing any of your strategies at all. And then that becomes frustrating and you're spending a lot of money. And the last thing I want people to do, as I say, there's two resources, your time and your money. And I want you to make sure that you're spending your time on the best ones that are there, that are out there. So let me just see, let me see my other questions here. I've got, I'm going to ask this one last one, and then Heidi, if you've got one more, we can do it. So this one is, Coach Kerry, you talk a lot about the importance of planning, but what do you mean by this, and how and when should I plan? Well, I've actually talked a little bit about that already around the goals, but what I'm going to say to you, so 12 weeks ideally, is you want to be setting yourself up for the next chunk of time. So the next real time for you to be doing your planning is really in the next month. So starting the beginning of September, starting to look at what is your real overall plan, the bigger plan for your business, not just the 12-week goals, but the bigger plan that's actually going to drive those goals. So when are you going to do that? Well, I recommend starting in the fall, and that'll set you up for the next year. So it's a really good time to do that. In fact, I'm going to be launching my strategy map program the 3rd week in September. And so for those of you who are interested in finding out more, stay tuned on my website and on my Facebook page as well, Kerry Brown Coach, so you'll find out more about that. But that's a perfect opportunity for you to be able to take 12 weeks. In fact, I put it into a 12-week program to basically walk you through all of those steps so that you can actually create a strategic plan. And yes, even if you are building your business off your kitchen table, you need a strategic plan. Does it need to be as complex as a larger business is? Of course not. But again, you need to know where you're going. You need to know the overall arching themes in there. In fact, one of the pieces you're going to work on is that vision, mission, values. It's going to have you dig really deep into those questions. It's going to really challenge you to think about what it is you really want to create in your business. And rather than just, I want to make some money, that actually really those are things that are very purpose driven. So I really encourage you to wait and or to watch for my information on my strategy map program, and because I think it'd be really beneficial for you in terms of being able to build a strategic plan for your business. So Heidi, what's your last question for me as we wrap up this Q&A session today?
The last question I would have is, how do I choose a strategic partner in my business? I hear a lot about, building teams, and I look at branding, and big companies are building partnerships with other companies to get the word out about themselves. What would you suggest to clients that are trying it for the first time?
Well, I think it's really good to have strategic alliances. They can take different forms. If you have a product or service, you can have affiliates who market your product, and they get paid for a portion of whatever it is that they sell. But I don't think you're really speaking about that. You're speaking more about really taking a look at who your business is. And again, you need to be clear on who your ideal client is. And then you're going to look for someone else that their client is the same as yours. So that's first thing, similar client bases. And they offer something that is complementary to what you offer, so that there's a sort of a synergy that's there. And then, again, you're going to look for somebody that has the same mindset as you do, somebody who's got that same ability to really think bigger picture in their business and be able to maybe understand some of the same principles that you have. So I would encourage you both to create a strategic plan together if you're going to be working as a strategic partner. What is going to be your strategic plan for your strategic partnership? So what's the vision for it? What are the components in it? How are you going to achieve that? How are you going to co-market each other? What are the things you're going to be, are you going to have a budget for it? If you are, how are you going to invest it? What's the amount of time? What are the expectations? Is there going to be some referral fee passed over, or is it just going to be to support each other? Look at whether, as a strategic partner, that business comes directly often one way to the other versus the reverse, because in some businesses that's the case, that a person might be the first person in that purchasing decision, but they may never be at the other end to be able to see the person to refer them. So there can be a lot of issues, a lot of challenges that come along of unfulfilled expectations if you haven't discussed them at incredible detail with each other. So just because you might like each other doesn't mean you might be good in business together. And again, a strategic partnership, you are going into business together because there are expectations that are set. Yes, you may not be sharing each other's revenues or anything else, but there are relationships that are established. There is a relationship that will be established. And one of the biggest downfalls I see in business is that people have unfulfilled expectations around their relationships. It creates challenges, and people will sort of go in and out of these strategic partnerships. So find those people that really fit for you in terms of your psyche, fit for you in terms of how your communication styles are. a fit for you in terms of how you actually plan and go about doing what you do. So then you have a good solid foundation to be able to build that partnership. So Heidi, did that answer your question?
Yes, that was a great answer. And again, I'm seeing a theme that it's all about, you know, having your vision at the beginning, being clear on it, communicating that with your strategic partner, ensuring that they're, you know, on the same page, and then discussing your expectations so that you both can fulfill them. So thank you very much.
Great, excellent. And thank you for being able to pop on, even given your challenges today. So everyone, remember, these episodes are on live at 9 a.m. Monday Pacific time. You can always watch on my website, hangoutwithcoachkerry.com. And you can find a lot of tips and resources there. There's 70 videos on the website, so there's lots there for you to be able to download, to be able to watch. We talked today about a couple of things I just want to share with you. Is one of them is, you know, you want to be clear on the strategies that you're going to be employing, and the only way you do that is if you take some time to do some planning. So that was sort of the theme today, and that will help you. That planning process will help you get some clarity. So if you find yourself being overwhelmed in your business, if there are things that you're struggling with, planning is going to be one of your best pieces that you're going to be able to do in order to remove you from that place of overwhelm to a place of being much more comfortable with what you're doing, and you can build your business more strategically. So again, everyone, thank you very much. Don't forget to go to my website and go and check out Heidi's website as well, inyourcornerva.com. And we'll talk to you next week, same time, same station. Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome and inspired week. Bye-bye.